whatever the is that is appropriate for you and really hits you deep down and resonates with you, that's the one you use. It's rewired, it's relaunching, it's reinventing yourself and your business so that you can then get to that next place where you want to.
ADHD Rewired, episode number 69. This is the show designed to help those of us who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. My name is Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, coach, and consultant. We know that starting can be the hardest part, so let's get started. But first, let me thank our sponsors. Audible.trial.com/ADHD Rewired for your free download. Trial.com/ADHD Rewired. Trial.com/ADHD Rewired. Go to audibletrial.com/ADHD Rewired for your free audiobook download. Do you need an easy way to connect with people virtually, but don't want to be hassled by downloads that don't work, connections that are complicated? Go to erictivers.com/Zoom and check out truly what I think is a revolutionarily easy to use video conferencing platform. That's erictivers.com/Zoom. Hey everybody, before we get started with today's episode, I just want to kind of check in with you and just let you know a couple of things about how I'm doing, how things in the Rewired den, I don't know, it's both virtual and my office. All right, let me first start with how I'm doing. So I wanted to give you an update because I know that a few weeks ago I shared on one of the episodes, I don't remember which one it was, that I had cut back on my medication because I was experiencing some anxiety, and the decrease of my medication helped with the anxiety, but it was not helping my ADHD. So just this past week, I increased my dose a bit. It wasn't not what my original dose was. It was slightly lower than that. And, it was really clear to me how beneficial the medication really is when it's doing what it's supposed to do. The best way that I feel that I can describe it was my brain was able to actually think into the future and organize thoughts in a sequential way. And I was able to plan and really kind of do more of that multi-step planning, and prioritizing, where when I was on my lower dose, I really felt like I was just kind of handling what was in front of me. So it really reminded me of how effective the medication is when it's doing what it's supposed to do. So I'm feeling good. I had a really good week. We're coming off the launch of this summer's coaching group. And first I want to thank everybody who signed up, especially, but everyone who expressed interest. I got to talk to a lot of people, over the last week, especially, but the last few weeks. And I just really appreciate everyone who expressed interest. Now, I shared over the last few weeks that I was doing kind of a different kind of launch. I was not going to make myself kind of crazy over the launch. And I shared with you that I was going to share with you whether or not this was successful or whether or not it wasn't successful. And, I feel I have a really big win to share for a couple of reasons. So as you know, the group fills up at 12 people and I got 11 people, and I want to say that I think that's a win in a number of ways. One, because I think it's great that I have 11 people in this group. But from a kind of personal perspective of, because I definitely struggle with some of that perfectionism of wanting to be, perfect, and, feeling that if I don't close a group, if I don't fill up a group, that there's that inner voice in my mind that goes, well, you failed. And I don't feel that way at all. I feel great because I made a conscious decision to try to scale back the effort of my launch. I launched for my last group. I did, the podcasts I was thinking on 8 people's podcasts, I think 7 or 8 people's podcasts. I did a couple of webinars. I did a whole video series, and it really works, but it was a ton of work. And I just wanted to see what would happen if I scaled back a bit and just kind of used this kind of medium, talking to you right now, as the primary way of telling people about the podcast. And I sent out a few emails and posted some things on Facebook. So I think that based on that experiment, I think that was a huge success. Mind you, I have 11 and feel great about that. I may have a 12th by the start of the week. I'm recording this on Friday and this airs Tuesday, but we start the group Monday. All that time stuff still messes with my brain. But so if you missed this opportunity to join the group, because one of the things that I heard from lots and lots of people is that this wasn't going to be the right time for them. A lot of people going on vacation or whatnot. A lot of people told me that, but they really want to do it in the fall. So let's do it in the fall. September 14th is going to be the fall session. So mark your calendars now. I'm going to have more information, but I'm going to actually do another experiment and having some kind of an open registration where I'm going to just let you know. So instead of doing as I typically do before these coaching launches, where I have these really long promos, I still might do it, but I'm going to see if I can get away without doing that. And just kind of remind you that I have these coaching groups going on an ongoing basis. So the next one will be September 14th. Shoot me an email or go to coachingrewired.com if you're interested in the next coaching group. But I want to thank everyone who's reached out to me, who expressed interest, who shared things about this on social media. And I'm really looking forward to getting started. And so in the idea of I'm redoing the way I launch, the guest that I have on this week is from the podcast ReLaunch. And so without any further ado, let's get into the episode. Welcome back to another episode of ADHD Rewired. I am here with my guest, Joel Boggess. How are you, Joel?
Hey, Eric, how are you? Good to be on your show. And I've been wondering to myself all day, what happens when you get two shiny object guys together on the same podcast? And I guess we're going to find out.
Well, this is it. And, I'm really happy to have you on specifically today. So this was kind of the launch week of my coaching group. We're getting started on Monday. And
awesome.
Your podcast, ReLaunch, helping people kind of reinvent themselves and start a new path for themselves, get discovered. And so I thought, what a great opportunity, because the launch that I just did was very different than my last launch in just my approach and how I went about it. But I want to kind of hear a little bit more about your story, about why ReLaunch, and because now we've become friends, and I'm actually we just started a mastermind group that you organized, which I'm super excited to be involved in.
Yeah, we had our first call this week.
Oh man, it was awesome.
Everybody showed up, and the way we approached it is, this is business, and that's how that was the whole idea in putting together the mastermind. I wasn't interested in putting together a happy hour or a knitting class. I wanted to get together. Oh boy, here come the knitters and with the hate mail. I can feel it coming on, but I wanted to put together a group that were like-minded entrepreneurs that were really ready to take their shows and their business, especially their business, to another level. And so go ahead.
And talk about the hate mail, inside the ADHD community, there's people who are on the fringe of it, often use phrases like shiny objects and oh squirrel. And there are many people in the community who that totally irks. So, I know that you are a friend of the community, and in conversations that we've had, you haven't said that you have ADHD or know if you have ADHD, but you do struggle sometimes with, going after every new thing that seems interesting and exciting.
You might call me an honorary ADHDer. Was that fair?
I think it's fair. I mean,
Can you roll with that?
At least it's on my show. I make the rules on my show, so I'm gonna give you an honorarium of that. So member of the tribe, at least honorarily.
Nice.
So you have some really interesting stories of kind of how you got to where you are. And, and the whole idea of Rewired is that we can change what we do and change our outcomes. Mm-hmm. When we start changing our behaviors, we actually do change our brain. So I just, the idea that, and we've launched our podcast around the same time, I think, right?
We did, as a matter of fact, and I'm glad you brought that up because I remember sitting at the coffee shop, looking at New and Noteworthy, trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to link arms with some of these other folks that are just knocking it out of the park with their podcast? And I kept seeing ADHD Rewired, and because I don't know any better, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna reach out to this Tivers guy and see if we might do a show together or kind of become friends or compare notes or something. So that's what I did. When I launched ReLaunch, you were right there side by side with me. Sometimes you were in front of me. Sometimes I was in front of your show. It didn't really matter. But I thought, I'm going to make some friends with the people that were kind of occupying the same space as me. And I believe that's how we got connected.
Yes. And we're both in the podcast community, the podcast paradise community. And that's another way we're connected. And, so we had this whole, both of our podcasts start with the re concept. And I think I think it can mean a lot of things. What does that mean for you?
I think it's akin to a do-over, if you will. Mm-hmm. It's taking the knowledge, the experience, the trials, the tribulations, the false starts, and the victories, and you're weaving them together as you move forward into the next phase of your business or your personal development. My very first guest, episode number 1 mm-hmm. For ReLaunch, phenomenal speaker and author, Tim Sanders, was my guest. And one of the things that he said is, you know what, we're constantly in a relaunch. And you know what? I couldn't have said it any better.
I feel the same way. It's especially as someone with ADHD, I failed so many times. And the way I look at that is, failure is feedback. I've learned so many lessons, and instead of beating myself up over failures, I just immediately will begin to look at, okay, what can I learn from that? There are data points. I can either, say, crap, well, that didn't work out and I suck and, I'm never going to do anything. Or I could say, all right, well, that didn't work out. That might be a fact, but what didn't work out about that? How can I do that differently? And then get up and try again. Mm-hmm.
And that's the key right there. Mark Sanborn, another one of my frequent guests and a friend, uses the term reinvention. Mm. But whatever the re is that is appropriate for you and really hits you deep down and resonates with you, that's the one you use. It's rewired, it's relaunching, it's reinventing yourself and your business so that you can then get to that next place where you want to. And, we both know that we live in a very fast paced and an ever-changing economy mm-hmm. and society at large. Mm-hmm. We all know that. And if we want to really make a difference, not just to ourselves, but also a difference to our family, our loved ones, and the people that we serve, I think we have a responsibility, if you will, to relaunch when appropriate and to be able to serve in a better way.
So, Joe, you always ask your guests on your show to think of a specific moment, a turning point in their life where that change occurs, something happened, and you kind of started that relaunch. Where was yours?
Wow, now that is a great question. Let me back up a little bit and kind of lay a little bit of groundwork, if you don't mind. During the 1990s, I spent kind of the lion's share of that decade behind the mic doing traditional radio, and also in front of the camera doing TV, and left that industry in the late 90s, 97, I think it was. And a few things happened between then and now. But when the opportunity came to go from broadcasting to podcasting, it was absolutely a no-brainer for me. And I think that is a good relaunch right there, when I just decided that, you know what, I not only have to be in the podcasting industry, but I need to be a front runner in the podcasting world. And gosh, once we cut our teeth in the podcasting world and we learned how it works, ReLaunch is actually my 9th show. I forget to mention that to people. That,
wait, really?
Yeah, I'm a 9.
I don't know if I knew that.
I'm a 9-show overnight success, Eric. And
man, I don't want you to brush past that point right there. It's the idea, and I think that more people begin to talk about this now, about when people see these big successes, the idea of these overnight success. It's like, well, that maybe it was that next step is where you began to see the success, but there was so much stuff that was happening before that, and it takes years and years to get to any point that we may feel successful.
I forget to mention that, but I did, gosh, I don't remember, like the Joel Boggess show, and I did Breakthrough Champions, and I did this, and I did Finding Your Voice, which was a good practice and a very long runway. But yeah, it took
helped you find your voice.
Absolutely.
Now, did you ever look? I told you a while back that I thought you sound very much like the NPR host Ira Flatow.
You did tell me that.
Have you ever looked him up and listened to it?
I think I did, because you probably sent me a clip or something like that, and I agree with you. So yeah, I think
so you should maybe contact them and say, hey, if Ira ever needs to go like on vacation or something, and you need like a substitute that sounds like him, there could be an opportunity right there.
Well, and then when I go on my cruise in 2017, which hopefully you're gonna go on it with me, Eric. Maybe Ira can substitute for me. I'm just saying.
If you don't think it, you don't dream it, it'll never happen.
Absolutely.
All right. So that moment where you relaunched into going from kind of broadcast to podcast, well, was there a driving force, or was it, because I think it's hard. I think a lot of times there's not this like catapult moment. I think it's a series of events that kind of add up to something that give, people kind of an aha. Like, what was it for you?
Sure. Broadcasting was it was coursing through my veins from a very, very early age. I remember when I was about 10 years old. It was Christmas Day, and it was the best time of the day for any young boy. It was time to open presents, and I remember headed down that hallway, sat in the chair. They put a big box in front of me, and so just like any boy would do on Christmas Day, I ripped through that box. I went through it like a hot knife goes through butter. And I reached my hand in the box, pulled out by the handle that ran from the left to the right, pulled out this big metallic looking box with 2 black circles on either end. And this was the early 80s. So that means it could only be one thing. It was a boombox. And when I got that boombox, Eric, that actually ignited the spark within me that actually turned into a flame, which later turned into a torch as I entered my teenage years and my early 20s. And I just knew that, gosh, I need to be the guy on the other end, the guy sitting behind the mic, giving, whatever, news reports, trivia, funny anecdotes, things of that nature. And that has been with me ever since.
Was there ever a point in your life during that time where you were wearing a maybe ripped jean jacket with the boombox on your shoulder, walking down the street, listening to like Sir Mix-a-Lot?
I've been asked that once or twice. For the record, No.
No.
For the record.
For the record. Off the record?
Off the record? Of course.
No,
I had the parachute pants and the bandana around the thigh. And I was so cool, Eric. I mean, you would have immediately wanted to have been my friend.
Now, just so the listeners know, people, because you can't, we all have these faces for radio, right?
Oh, yeah.
Joel, you still sport a mullet.
See, now you're the third guy that's told me that. And I'm thinking, I don't know.
It's a mullet. It's a mullet.
Okay. I mean, whatever. But yeah, a few people have mentioned that to me.
So what do you think it is?
I think it's me with long hair. And then being the contrarian that I am, I'm not planning on cutting it just because, I am me. But if you say it's a mullet, I'll just go with that. I
think that we should post some pictures of it and have people vote. Like, is it a mullet or is it not?
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, definitely. Let's do that as part of your show notes when the show comes out. And then ask your community. Actually, ask your brand new mastermind group. That and that is filled to capacity.
I'm pretty sure though that they're just gonna. What do you think the results are going to be?
Well, I mean, see, but everybody knows and loves you, Eric.
Yeah, so I am influencing the vote.
Yeah, so that's not even a fair thing to say.
Now, Joel, something you may not have known about me. When I was in college, I used to have dreadlocks.
No way.
Yes, I did. I had dreadlocks and I had a real big beard. I was a hippie.
In high school?
In college. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm a musician. I used to take music a lot more seriously when I was a bit younger. But yeah, I mean, I used to think that I would travel all over the place and play music.
That is hard to. Those are your Throwback Thursday pictures, right there. If they're still in existence, I don't know. You might have burned them by now.
No, there are still some in existence. I have an old
hidden somewhere in the underground vault.
Yeah, it's and actually I had the picture the dreadlocks in a jar for many years, and I gave it to my mom as a present when I cut them off, and she was thrilled with it. She told me it was the best present she ever got because she hated my dreadlocks.
Funny stuff. The funny things that kids do, right?
Right. It's oh man, that was such an area of contention between my mom and I was my hair, and it's like or all the things to get into it with people with, your kids with. It's like hair is not one of them.
I remember when I was in my early 20s and I was a radio star celebrity, or at least I thought I was. And I was, doing full-time radio. I had my ears pierced, and that freaked my dad out. And one time I got, my ear became infected, and I said, "Hey, Dad," and I knew his stance very, very clearly on my numerous ear piercings. And I said, "Hey, you've got to fix this because the little stud, went in my ear or whatever." And so he was in there fishing it out and stuff like that. And secretly inside, I found this out much later. He was like thanking God, and he was like, yes, it got infected. So Joel's gonna, so secretly he was clapping.
That happened to when my sister was in high school. She, against my parents' wishes, went and got her cartilage pierced, and it got infected, and she ended up in the hospital because of it. Because that's really close to the brain, and she learned that could actually cause serious brain damage.
Yikes! Well, my dad was thrilled that phase it didn't last as long as I guess it could have.
So I heard I was listening to you were interviewed on the Selling the Couch podcast.
Yes.
And there was a story that you shared.
Melvin Varghese.
Yes.
Dr. Varghese. Yes.
And I was on his show too. What a nice guy.
Oh,
and you shared a story that was just incredible from your childhood. Do you know what story I'm talking about?
Well, it was a rough time for everyone involved during my childhood, in fits and spurts. I mean, not continual, but there was some thing. It was the near-death experience.
Yes.
Was it the okay?
So will you share that?
Yeah,
Just because
yeah.
I think it's a great. I mean, I'm not really sure what connection it has to ADHD, other than it's a great story and I'm interested in it. And so, if anything, just because I'm interested in it, and that's what I'm going after right now. It's just
That's
a
what we're
good
doing.
story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, my parents divorced when I was 3, and that kind of threw me into the at-risk child category,
Mm-hmm.
divorced parents. And then I lived with my mom for a little while. And when I was 5 years old, I was visiting my dad over the weekend, and we went out to go on a nature hike in the Texas Hill Country. And there was my dad, a few of his friends. They probably had dreadlocks at that point in time because it was the 70s, but or something, some kind of accoutrements. But there were a couple of kids there. I was 5, and there were some older kids. And as they were off on their nature hike doing their thing, the kids kind of drifted off to the back and, kind of set off on our own adventure. And we found a hill, and I actually climbed to the top of this hill. And running parallel to the hill was this bridge. And being a curious George, like I was at the time, still am, by the way, 40 years later, I stepped onto this bridge. Probably looked like a jungle gym for me. And I walked to the middle of this bridge, and I laid down on my stomach along with the 2 kids that I was with. And we called to our parents, who were down below, 30 feet down below. And about that time, when my dad finally looked up, horn sounded in the distance. I don't remember this, but I'm imagining there was a lot of commotion, a lot of horns blowing and brakes screeching and things of that nature. But a train was coming. It was actually a train bridge. And so my dad and the other dad that was there, ran as fast as they could to the top of this hill trying to get me. And this train was barreling down on us. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but at the end of that very, very intense experience, when my dad got to the top of the hill and then onto the train track, the train was stopped. And I think a person who my dad looked at him, pointed to the ground, and then there I was way down below, lying in a pool of my own blood.
Oh my.
Having sustained 3 skull fractures from that long fall. Now, think about this for a second. This was 40 years ago in the middle of the Texas Hill Country. I mean, this is before cell phones. This is before GPS. This was before a lot of the things that you and I take for granted today. And somehow, I'm sure the train radioed for help, but somehow the emergency crew was able to find us through the thicket and the untraveled roads. And by the time they got to us, my little 5-year-old arm, they couldn't even start an IV on it because I had lost so much blood. But through some tremendous, heroic medical and divine intervention, they were able to get me from the rocky terrain to Santa Rosa Medical Center, which is in San Antonio. And there I lay for 3 weeks in a coma. My dad was already delivered the bad news that that was it for me. I wasn't coming back. And like I still do as a contrarian, I said, no, wrong. And I actually came back in 3 weeks, came out of my coma, and I demanded yogurt, according to my mother and that side of the family. I demanded yogurt. So I was back, and I stayed on in the hospital for an additional 3 weeks, went home to begin that long recovery process, having to relearn, another re for you, things like how to walk a straight line, how to tie my shoes, things of that nature. And, finding your voice, we kind of really haven't even talked about it, but finding your voice, finding your place, your best place. That's kind of the story of my life, Eric, because I had to start again. I had to relaunch at age 6. I was 6 when I woke up out of my coma, and I had to kind of start again, try to find my place, my strengths, my passions, things of that nature. And that's why that book the Finding Your Voice book was so important for me to be able to tell that story.
How do you think that you said you were you were a contrarian. Do you think that started after that event?
Yeah, boy, that's a great question. I really don't know because I don't know how I was before.
Okay.
I have just kind of flashes and glimpses of the memory before that. But then again, I was age 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I don't honestly know how much of that early life kids would remember or adults would be able to recall.
Right.
But
I know
yeah.
myself, when I was, I think I was 5 years old, and I was always sick with like asthma, and I was in the hospital a couple times, and there's one time I was in the hospital with pneumonia. I remember I had like 106 fever.
Wow.
Rushed to the hospital, and my mom says that like after that experience, after I came home from the hospital, so I was a different person. I had my own agenda, and no one was going to get in my way after that point. And so she said, I used to be this really sweet kid. And it's like, what, she thinks I wasn't sweet after that. Maybe I was just, I realized maybe that it's like, well, all the things that we take for granted can be taken away from us so quickly that life was too short to wait on other people to get what you want.
Well, I do know one thing. I've had my own agenda ever since, for the most part, and I think I've always known this, Eric. Maybe you can relate, but I've always had to work twice as hard to make anything happen.
I could relate,
yes. And your audience might be able to relate with that as well, because for me,
yes,
because I sustained hearing loss, permanent hearing loss, and permanent balance difficulties. I was kept out of the armed services, all branches, right out of high school, which that was my dream, by the way, is to be in the military. I had my sights set on USMC right out of high school for 20 years. And then I was going to, go that course and then disqualified immediately. Tried the Air Force, tried all the branches, even the State Guard, because I wanted that, and I couldn't because of some things that have happened during my accident. But everything, maybe not everything, but the majority of things have taken me twice as hard or 3 times as hard for me to accomplish that level of success. And
absolutely, Joel, my listeners are, I am sure that they're doing exactly what I'm doing right now and just nodding their heads, because it's twice as much effort for half the results. I mean, it is. So I talk often about the to be successful when you have ADHD, requires such an intense level of self-determination. It's almost like you got to be a little bit crazy. Or just love what you do so much. And I think that's, one of the things that I talk to people about with one of the differences between people with ADHD and not is that people without ADHD, if they have a job that they love, then that's kind of like a luxury. That's like a wonderful thing that they get to enjoy. For people with ADHD or other learning challenges or learning differences, they have to have a job that they love. Otherwise they will fail. I mean, they will flounder, they will struggle. But when you have what you love, it's, everything changes.
Well, yes, I completely agree with that. I'm still kind of thinking about what some of the things that I was told in school, which you can probably relate with. I'm sure your listeners can as well. And my dad and my mom, because they're my parents, they saved every report, every doctor's report that was the equivalent of a person shaking their head or getting bad marks on a test. They saved everything. And Pay and I, as we were doing research for the Finding Your Voice book, we went through the different reports, and I was kind of in tears almost, probably will be today as well, as I recapture the story about what physicians said about me, what counselors at school said about me, what administrators said about me. I was reading some of my disruptive behavior reports in school. I can see you smiling at me, Eric. So you probably had one or two of those too. But yeah,
if I told you that I was never suspended from school, I would be lying.
Yeah, me too. But I read those and I kind of laugh. And in one of the quotes that one of the doctors said, and by the way, they were all doing the best that they thought they knew how to do. So that there's no animosity toward them, because they were doing what they thought they were doing, and they were following their training as best as they understood. Again, as best as they understood.
And I think that's such a great point, Joel, because I think that a lot of people in my audience, adults with ADHD who were diagnosed later in life, a lot of them feel very like they lost out because they didn't know. Some of the relationship, even my own relationship with my parents, my mom, like we butt heads a lot when I was growing up. But we didn't know that I had ADHD, and I don't blame her for not knowing. It's this school didn't know I had ADHD. I don't. Part of the reason they didn't know that because I wasn't a hyperactive kid. I was kind of a spacey. I was what they call the inattentive presentation of ADHD. I was always disorganized. I was late. I was sloppy with my work. Did really well for short periods of time when I was interested in stuff. But if I wasn't interested, it was pretty lousy.
I remember one of the reports, and we actually quoted this report in the book that we wrote, and it says, a physician, don't expect Joel to live a normal life. And you know what?
And you know what?
They're absolutely right. I'm like, hell yeah. Thank goodness for that.
Normal's boring. It's like other people can live normal lives. The uncharted path, the taking those chances, that's where the richness of life comes. It's like playing things safe. It's like, and maybe the older I get, I don't even know if it's even true, but just there's a certain fun in taking risks as an entrepreneur, even when I was a little bit younger, I used to take more risks physically. I used to really enjoy mountain biking and would do some pretty stupid things and hurt myself a number of times. But it's like once I get out there, and it's just like my brain just feels so laser focused on what I'm doing. But I've met the close acquaintance with a tree once, and had bruised my ribs. I had actually the bruise pattern of the bark of the tree. I was going way too fast on a single trail in the woods, and I hit a root that was sticking out, and it was like in my mind, it was all in slow motion. Like I knew I was going to hit that tree. I was airborne, and there wasn't anything that was going to stop me from hitting that tree. And I just,
those are the worst kind of crashes when you can see it happening in front of you.
I once hurt myself on a half pipe on a mountain bike, and I'd never done something like that before. I went up on a half pipe, and I came down on the handlebar. The handlebar was sticking up in the side of my stomach. The first thing that landed was the side of my stomach on the handlebar that was sticking up. That's why my dad had a motorcycle wreck, and it still hurts him. As a teenager, he had a wreck where that happened. So, Joe, I'm going to take a really, really quick break just to so I can pay for my editing and post production, and we'll be right back.
Zoom video conferencing is so easy to use that with all the extra time I saved not having to configure complicated settings, I recorded this promotion. Support ADHD Rewired and check out Zoom video conferencing. Go to erictivers.com/Zoom. Again, that's erictivers.com/Zoom. Get a Zoom room. Support for this podcast comes from Audible. For a free audiobook download, go to erictivers.com/audible for a link for that free download and for some hand-picked recommendations. Go to erictivers.com/audible for your free audiobook download.
All right, Joel, we are back. And what I want to do is, you were going to do something fun. What were you going to do?
I said, woohoo!
All right, cut you off there. Not that we're ever known for doing things like cutting people off, interrupting, speaking out of turn, or forgetting what I was about to say, which I'm totally forgetting what I'm about to say.
All right, well, just wing it.
Oh, I remember.
See?
Let's talk a little bit about kind of some productivity strategies that you use. Like how do you kind of organize your day, your week? I mean, you mentioned earlier that you're planning this cruise for 2017, right?
Right, and I'm excited about that. One of the ladies in my private community said nothing for 2016, like a question, because she was ready to go. And what's interesting is the space of availability, like meeting space and live events on a cruise ship, it's already booked, and there was very little inventory left for 2016. I think they probably mentioned 2 or 3 cruises that were available, but we just weren't interested in the limited what was available. So I thought, you know what, let's do 2017 and let's get our pick, so we can really zero in on something that we wanted to do. I wanted to go on a celebrity cruise ship. We've cruised on many brands, but that's our favorite one. So we decided that we would do that, and it's going to be on the Celebrity Reflection, which Reflection is one of the newer celebrity ships. I've personally never been on it, and it'll be a blast. A 7-day cruise. Just this week, we were able to lock in the date, the cruising city, the ship, and all the stuff that goes with it. So 20 months away, but it'll be here before you know it.
Wow. So how are you going to plan that? I mean, my first thought when you shared that with me was, wow, 20 months. How do you stay focused and excited about something for 20 months? Okay.
Great question. You build up to it, and then you put systems in place so it can take care of itself. I'm working with a wonderful team member, and I'm going to let him do his thing to really, create the landing pages and the sales and the promo copy and all that. I'm not going to put my hands in the dough with him. And I think that's the productivity tip right there. Understand your strengths. Yeah. Understand your strengths, what you do well. And then understand that what you need to delegate and what you need to trust other people to do, and that's going to be the thing right there. 20 months is a long ramp, which is what I would recommend for anyone that's getting ready to do something that's worth doing. Give himself enough runway. Yeah, we can pull it off in under 20 for sure. But it just so happened that that's when the date of the cruise is. That's the one that we wanted. So we have that runway.
All right. Well, now talk to me a little bit about kind of your daily, weekly kind of productivity strategies. How do you set up your day? Because you get a lot done.
We get a lot done, and thanks. We try to be as productive as we can. But having said that, we're all human, and so I don't want to ever give off the impression of, okay, well, this guy's got it all together, because no, I don't. I mean, we all have our flaws, and things come up, life happens. The car breaks down, people get sick. Your kids need something that you need to take care of urgently. But one of the things that Darren Hardy suggests, he's a publisher of Success Magazine, highly recommend subscribing to that magazine, is he talks about power blocking your day, and he talks about giving yourself 90 uninterrupted minutes. That I can even pull that off, 90 minutes, and to do your MVP, your most valuable priority, first thing of the day.
Kind of eating that frog.
Right, eat that frog, exactly. Same kind of concept. So that's before you get into social media. That's before you check Facebook and your updates 10 times. Right. And that's before you do all the other stuff. But let's think about, okay, my number one priority is this, and give yourself that block of 90 minutes, and you will be amazed at what you're able to accomplish in that short bit of time. And the rest of the day may go to heck in a handbasket, and it probably will, because you're an entrepreneur or you're a busy parent.
And it's so true that block of time. I know every once in a while I'll come in to my office on a Saturday if I like have something to do with either the podcast or something bigger coming up that I have to just really nail out. And I'll come in during my son's nap time. So I know I have a very small window of time because weekends are family time, and so I want to be home. My wife and son will both nap when my son naps. And so it's amazing what I can get done in that 2 hours. Cause I'm like, I get into the office and I'm like, go. I keep looking at my watch and I'm, on those days, I probably get as much done in those 2 hours as I do in an 8-hour day. I mean, it's
amazing. It's amazing with a little bit of focus at the beginning of the day. Mm-hmm. Okay. We all know, okay, maybe we don't all know this, but in my opinion, time management is a myth, because you just can't manage it no matter how hard you try. However, you can manage your energy.
Yes, and my listeners know that I've talked about that before, that it's not about time management, it's about energy management.
Right, and you do have control over your energy and when it peaks and when it wanes. And we all have different schedules, and we all have different bio clocks, if you will. And we can manage to that. We do have control over that. So I'm a big believer in managing your energy. Get the tough stuff done first in that time block, and make it happen. One of the things that I try to do, and we're all science experiments, including myself, and that is to really understand on the front end what your 3 big goals are for the week. And gosh, if you can eat that frog every single morning for 90 minutes on those priority goals, 3 a week, and it's amazing how things will happen. And
what Joel is saying is absolutely right on. I've found that because I definitely struggle with, I sometimes take on too much. And when I start to notice that I'm getting, going through periods where I'm feeling more anxious, and I just recently actually did this. I did a big brain dump. I did a mind map of everything that I got going on, and I was able to actually see, now I can kind of see why I'm feeling a bit anxious. I have too much going on. Cause it's like I get excited about stuff, and I'm creative, and that energizes me. But by focusing on less, you absolutely get more done. And it's, a lot of these productivity things I find are very sort of paradoxical and counterintuitive in a lot of ways.
One of the things that I'm doing in my elite group is I'm encouraging people.
And describe that just for a moment.
Okay, sure. ReLaunch Elite. ReLaunch Elite is the results only, no excuses mastermind for authors, podcasters, content creators. And what I've done is we got together that group. We're keeping it small, 25 members, and we sold it out just a few days ago. 23 people are in the group. I'm 24. Dr. Pei, my wife, is 25. And we are just knocking it out of the park. People are already seeing amazing results with their podcast, and they're moving forward on their book projects and things of that nature. And one of the things that I'm encouraging people to do, and again, results only, no excuses. So it's not about me, it's about them. So the onus is on them, and they understand that right from the beginning. And that is actually a pretty empowering idea when people understand that, oh my gosh, so this is me. This is all me. And so anyway, so people are really understanding that. But one of the things that I encourage people to do is that for 90 days, it's a 90-day program. And it is that they set one great goal great goal for 90 days.
The big shiny goal.
Yeah. Just set that one great goal for 90 days. It doesn't mean that the other areas of your life aren't important or that, they're not things that you need to do too, but what do you need to do for that period of time? We chose 90 days. And then if we want to set a 7-day goal, 7-day, let's set it up in a way to where it adds to that 90-day goal.
So it's all related. Yeah.
It's all related. It's like how one dial moves another dial.
So Joel, I have one question for you, and then we're going to move into the last part of the show is what's your 90-day goal?
Sure. That's a great question. My 90-day goal is to help my wife launch a dentist happy hour.
Awesome.
And that's going to be her September 1st is when we're getting ready to launch that. And she's been talking about it for a long time. And we're just like, at the beginning of this summer, we're like, you know what? We've just got to do this because I'm tired of hearing about it.
I bet you can't wait to sink her teeth into it.
Well, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great complement to what we're doing. So,
Joel, was the really bad pun did it fly over your head? Did my really bad pun fly over your head?
Yes, it did. Oh,
sink your teeth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Groan. I know.
That was really bad. That was a groaner.
So bad it flew right past him.
Yep.
All right. So we're getting to the end.
Okay.
And this is the part of the show that we call the random question round. This is the part of the show that has nothing to do with ADHD, which then paradoxically has everything to do with ADHD. Are you ready?
That is a good paradox. Yes.
All right. My first question is, name an invention that you would like to create or something that you would like to improve upon.
Okay, an invention that I'd like to create. Absolutely. Turnkey system for podcasters and authors. So all they do is walk in a studio, sit behind their microphone, and then record their show, and then everything else is done for them. And actually, that is part of our plan as well, because what we're learning is that, content creators, guys like you and me, they love creating content, right? But the other stuff is other people can do it.
Yeah. Even the act, Joel, of me taking the little flash drive out of my recorder and loading it into my computer, like I don't like doing that. It's like a 2-second task, and I don't like it. All right, next question of the random question round. If all right, wine or beer?
Wine.
I was gonna say or water. I don't know if you drank. All right, wine. If you had $1,000,
okay,
and you could pay on a one night romantic date, what would it be? What would you do?
It would be since I live in Dallas Fort Worth, where there's no ocean immediately accessible. I would take her on a cruise on Lake Grapevine. And on a riverboat on Lake Grapevine.
Okay. And now you hit it up. You connected with the captain of the ship, and he said, okay, Joel, I like you so much. I think you should rename the ship. What would it be called?
Of course, ReLaunch.
Any idea where your next relaunch might take you?
Wow, that's a good one. We are in the early processes of creating that turnkey solution. And honestly, I'm just being straight up here. I think that that's going to put us in a whole nother circle of influence, because we've had on some pretty high profile people on ReLaunch. So thank God for that. And a lot of these people, they want to do podcasts, but they don't have the time to to market and to edit and things of that nature. So they need that turnkey solution. Pay and I are going to solve that problem for them. And what we see is that's a relaunch of sorts. That's probably more accurate into the 90-day goal deal. But that's going to take us to a whole nother level and give us opportunities to experience things that we haven't experienced yet, because all of a sudden we're going to be in those kind of circles, those higher end type circles. Just this week, actually, we were invited by a flight instructor to take his G280 flight simulator. That's a $22 million piece of equipment out for a spin. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay.
Like an actual plane?
No, it was a simulator. Okay. It was a simulator. But it was the Gulfstream 280. That's where and that thing, they $800 an hour is what they train future pilots on. And this guy, the flight instructor, gave Pei and I about 2.5 hours in the cockpit of that thing, and just did it just because we were podcasters and we interviewed a pilot. And I don't have anything to do with aviation, but see, that's what I'm talking about elevating yourself into higher circles. And I'm thinking, gosh, we're going to probably be getting some more opportunities like that as well if we continue to ratchet up in who we're serving.
Well, Joel, thank you so much. We do need to end it there because I have a coaching group call in about a minute and a half. So I got to transition really quickly. But before I let you go, we let people know kind of how they can reach you and all that good stuff.
You bet. ReLaunchShow.com. Again, ReLaunchShow.com. That's where we park all of the podcasts. That's where we have many available training resources for free. And we have, of course, all the social media contacts there as well. Look forward to connecting with some of the people in the ADHD Rewired audience. And congratulations on this show, Eric. A wonderful, wonderful resource for the ADHD community. So great job.
Thank you so much, Joel. And I'll see you Thursday at 9 a.m.
Look forward to it. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of ADHD Rewired. And if you're new to the show, welcome to ADHD Rewired. We are more than just a podcast. We are a community focused on learning, growing, and connection. You can see a full outline of this and all other episodes with all the links and other resources mentioned during this interview at ADHDrewired.com. Help support this podcast by checking out my sponsors. I use Zoom video conferencing nearly every day, and so can you. Go free or go pro. But please go to erictibbers.com/Zoom so they know that I sent you. And you can get a free audiobook from Audible at erictibbers.com/Audible. And next time you shop Amazon, use the Amazon search portal at ADHDrewired.com. A small percentage of your purchase will go to support this show, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. You can also support this podcast by leaving an honest rating and review in iTunes or Stitcher. This really helps other people find this show. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't just be a passive listener, be an active member of the ADHD Rewired community. We are on Facebook. You can like our page, but please submit your request to join our free and growing community. And don't forget to check your other inbox because I screen everybody before they come into our community.
And if you missed the registration and sign up for this summer's coaching session, don't worry. Mark your calendars, September 14th. Our next session will begin. I'm working on updating some things on my website, but you can go to coachingrewired.com and let me know that you are interested in the fall session. That's all I have for you today. I hope you have a great week.